In this, I will attempt to refute the speech given by Nathan Hewitt, in which he has given his main claim to be getting rid of natural gases in California is impossible. Now, before moving on to supporting claims, I didn't want to point out that there is a relevant or irrelevancy issue. So I figure before going to the supporting claims, I just want to give you a background in which Nathan had a basis for his argument. So on his speech, he did mention that there is a leak in Satinover nuclear generating station, in which why he favors natural gas as a source of energy, as a superior energy source rather than renewable energies. In this, he gave three supporting claims. The first one is California is already to fully rely on renewable energies. Second one, switching to renewable energies would be economically onerous to residents. And the third, natural gas is the cleanest and most abundant energy source available. Now, before touching on the relevance and the irrelevancy issue, I do want to point out that the second and the third point are mere facts and indeed non-disputable, which made it really hard. But on the first one, he gave four points on his first supporting claim, in which he said that we would still need natural gas to power our peaker plants, and then he followed it by giving some facts that natural gas supplied power plants for a total of 9,376 gigawatt, and then comparing it with other energy sources as which is the renewable energy sources. And he did prove a point that natural gas did supply superior power compared to renewable energies. In this, however, the statement that we would still need natural gas to power our peaker plants implied that it is a necessity to use natural gas on the peaker plants. Now, on his fourth point, on his first supporting claim, he did put out some rebuttals on his own claim, in which he said that even if California is 100% reliant on renewable energies, which kind of made it impossible for me to refute it, because even if I did prove that we can rely on renewable energies, it would be totally invalid. But the thing is, he put a qualifier in which he stated that necessity on needing natural gas to power peaker plants. In this, I tried on researching on alternative to peaker plants then, or that necessity to use natural gas as the energy source. And according to Colin Kushney, a vice president of energy procurement and management, in an interview at a utilities office in Rosemead, California, states that if the requirement is just, hey, we're just short of energy or capacity, and then yes, energy storage is going to be the solution before probably a peaker. Now, I'm sorry for being late on this, but a peaker power plant is basically an energy source that California uses when there's a high demand for energy, such as on hot summer days where people from around California just constantly turn on their air conditioner, in which why we need a power plants for it. Now, peakers discharge power when needed during peak demand periods, but batteries can do that and more. He also said that batteries can also meet peak demands with lower emissions than natural gas-fired peakers by charging during low demand periods when excess wind and solar energy is being generated, and discharging during peak demand periods, which displaces the need to burn incremental natural gas in the peaker. Now, notice how his first, second, and third points, or first, second, and third claims, is talking about the comparison between renewable energies and natural gas as a source of energy, in which he was really successful in proving that natural gas indeed gave the most abundant energy available. But let me just restate the main claim that Nathan gave, which is getting rid of natural gas in California is impossible. Now, it did sound irrelevant because there's a disconnection between that phrase and the supporting claim. Now, I did try to kind of make his argument valid by trying to rephrase his main claim to be replacing natural gas with renewable energies in California is indeed impossible, rather than getting rid of natural gas in California is impossible, which kind of made the first point unnecessary because there's indeed an alternative to peaker plants or natural gas, and that is advanced energy storage. One more addition is I wanted to say a direct quote to prove that using energy storage in the future for California is not just a speculation or a theory, but a future fact, because advanced energy storage has actually been awarded contracts by SCE, which is Southern California Edison, I guess the largest electrical company in California, for new combined cycle power plants at its existing Huntington Beach and Long Beach facilities. And this, I conclude my repetition speech. Thank you.
All right, I kind of see where you're headed here, that the argument is not really an argument, especially on the second and the third points. I think you need to develop that a little bit more because not everybody's going to remember what those particular points are. Most of your dispute is concerns whether or not alternatives would be sufficient to replace natural gas and whether we could function without natural gas as a backup for the peaker plants. And I think that those claims could be stated a little bit more clearly. I think you recognize yourself that you needed to explain what you meant by peaker plants earlier in the argument than you did. I kind of suspected that that's what you were talking about, or at least that it fills in the gaps of energy when the other kinds of resources aren't available. You basically have a counterclaim here that suggests that the new technology of energy storage is going to solve these problems. So from a technical point of view, we very well might be able to live without having natural gas as a backup in these particular situations. So I think that that's an okay argument. I think the idea of replacing natural gas because of the cost issue or because of the cleanliness issue, you just kind of don't even bother talking about those things. I think you might want to defend the cleanliness of the alternatives that might be replacing natural gas. I don't think that would be that hard to do. And then on the cost issue, then the question becomes, well, what are the negative consequences of continuing to rely on natural gas versus what are the potential costs that we're having to deal with the other sources? And we don't really get any discussion of that. So it really comes down to this idea of whether or not we could, from a technological point of view, get rid of natural gas because we have new energy storage systems that would render the need for natural gas as a peaker source moot. I kind of got your explanation on that. I think it could be simpler. I think you get kind of sidetracked on a number of issues, and you could be a little bit more direct about it, but ultimately I thought that your point was relatively clear and it was adequately defended. I do think that there's a strong argument to be made, though, that there wasn't really a factual dispute here, since nobody's really trying to do this sort of thing, and that in the long run that you could just argue that by necessity, by technological innovation, things will replace natural gas. It's not like we have to jump in and toss it out immediately. It's just going to be a natural progression like almost all change in energy systems would be. All right, thank you.